Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Hoya cross-edge tips video. This is probably going to be a bit of a quicker one today, because all I'm going to do is go over some solutions for some common cases that might be faster than the ones you currently use. And I've actually timed out all of these for myself, and the solutions I'm going to show you are the ones that I find the fastest, so this may well be the case for you as well. In a lot of cases, these solutions are not the most efficient solutions, so I think this is a really good indication of when the shortest solutions may not be the fastest for you, and that sometimes longer and more ergonomic solutions are actually faster. So the first case I'm going to show you is this case, where we just have one wing that's unsolved. It needs to go on the right, but it's oriented in the front left slot. Now, a solution that you might be familiar with is something like F, U, F prime to take it out, and then R wide, U prime, R wide prime to insert. And that's not too bad, it's 6 moves, it's pretty good. But as it turns out for me, there's a 7-move solution that's actually faster. And that solution goes F, U, so same start, but then here we do R wide, U prime, R wide 2, F prime, R wide, like that. And this works for any wing piece. I'll just show you on a 5x5 here, same thing. And I think that's quite a nice solution. The next case is this one, which you will undoubtedly be familiar with. It's one of the most basic things you learn. And there are a couple of different ways of doing this. The way you probably are familiar with is doing R wide, U2, R wide prime, and then inserting with U, R wide, U prime, R wide prime. But another thing you can do is an F move, and that turns into this case, which is actually just 2 3-movers, but because it's on 4x4 specifically, you can cancel into them. So you can do something like R wide prime, F prime, R wide 2, U, R wide prime, like that. So altogether, this solution looks like F, R wide prime, F prime, R wide 2, U, R wide prime. And this does work on bigger cubes, you just have to be careful of any other solved pieces you may have. So in this case, we can do exactly the same thing, like that. If you had a block case like this, you can also implement this technique. Instead, you would do F, 3R wide prime, F prime, 3R wide 2, U, 3R wide prime, like that. Another way you can approach this case is by misorienting these with a left sledge. So that looks like that, and then inserting them in 3 moves. And I've found that if you start this with your thumb on bottom, which isn't amazing to do, but if you start with thumb on bottom, then it can all be done in a really, really quick motion, like that. So I think that could be another really good solution. Another fascinating one is this case, where you have the midge that's misoriented in a front slot, and the 2 wings are solved. Now, there are a variety of ways you could do this. The most basic approach would be to take this piece out into the U layer and then just insert it with M moves. So that could look something like this, and then insert it. You could be slightly more efficient and just do 1 move to bring it to the U layer, then insert it and then undo that move. Or you could do a sort of rotation like this and do something like U, M, U prime, M prime. But all of those need regrips or M slice moves, and they just don't really compare to the solution that I found for this case, which is actually to break up these 2 wings. And so the way you can solve this case is just insert this midge with 3R wide, U, 3R wide prime. And now we just have another 3-mover over here, which we can do with R wide, U prime, R wide prime. So this case then is super fast. That can also be applied to big cubes in a number of different ways. So here we've got one inner wing this time that's unsolved. And again, it's here, it's misoriented in the front slot. And we can do exactly the same thing here. We can solve it as if there were no pieces solved here, because all that does is takes these out, puts them up here, and they're still a 3-mover. So in this case, we can do 4R wide, U, 4R wide prime, 3R wide, U prime, 3R wide prime, just like that. This is another case where the longest solution can actually be faster if you time it out. And in this case, we can see we've got one wing solved, our midge is oriented, and our other wing is also oriented. And what you could do, and what I've taught before, is from this angle to flip this piece using a left sledge, and then you're set up to the 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime trigger. However, something that I found to actually be faster for me is to just insert the pieces one at a time. And that is to insert the midge first with 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime, and then deal with this case, which you can do in a number of ways. You can do in 7 moves with R wide, U prime, R wide prime, U prime, R wide, U prime, R wide prime. or you can insert it with a sledge to cancel a move like that, or you can even do it in a couple of 5 movers. You can do R wide 2, U, R prime, U prime, R wide 2, or you can do R wide, F, R prime, F prime, R wide prime. But I found for this specific case that solving one piece at a time is actually the fastest solution for me. Similarly, one of the most basic cases that I've shown you that you can set up to the 3R wide U2 3R wide prime trigger is this case, where you have, again, a wing solved, the midge is oriented and the other wing is misoriented next to it. And here you could do 4 move setup to the trigger, or alternatively, you could just insert one piece at a time, because actually that's a move shorter. So you could do 3R wide U2 3R wide prime, and then have this 3 mover, R wide U R wide prime. And same thing for this case. This time the wing is here in the other 3 mover position, and if you just do 3R wide U2 3R wide prime to start, then this piece is over here, and you can just insert with R wide U prime R wide prime. And of course, I haven't mentioned yet, but all of these cases do work exactly the same if the right hand wing is solved. So this case is just a mirror of the one I showed, so you can do 3L wide prime, U2, 3L wide, L wide prime, U, L wide. Now just a note on this case, inserting these 2 pieces separately is a move shorter if you get it from this angle. However, if you get it from, say, this angle, then you need to do a move extra to set up to inserting them, so that becomes 7 moves. And you can also still intuitively set up to 3R wide, U2, 3R wide prime in 4 moves. In this case, you would do R, U, R prime, U. So if you're really bothered about just saving one move, then from this angle, it's probably worth it to solve the 2 pieces separately. But if you get it from another angle, say like this angle, then you might as well set up to this case and insert in the same number of moves. It really depends on what you prefer. Another case is one where you can use a similar idea to the first case I showed, and that is this case, where we have one wing solved, the other wing is here, and the midge is also misoriented in the U layer. Now, a way I've shown to do this before is to cancel into inserting these 2 pieces, and that is to do the wing first, and cancel into the M move, and insert the midge. And that's not too bad, but there's a solution that's 1 move longer that I think could actually be faster. So if we start from this angle, we've got the midge in the front, the other wing on the right. We can do L wide prime, U, L wide. And that sets up to this, and now we can insert this wing a bit like we did before with U, R wide, U prime, R wide 2, F prime, R wide. And this trick also works on bigger cubes. So here we've got 2 pieces solved, and then our outer wing is here and our inner wing is here. So again, we take it from this angle, we can do 3L wide prime, U, 3L wide, U, R wide, U prime, R wide 2, F prime, R wide. Another interesting one is a case like this, where you have this block in the back and it's oriented and it's in the back left slot, which is not normally that nice. You can do 3R wide 2 and then insert these 2 pieces over here like that and then undo, and that is pretty good. But there are ways you can do it in 5 moves. You can hide this piece, for example, with L wide, and then you can do U prime F2 U L wide prime. Or you can do a similar idea, but this time with an L slice move like that, and then D prime L prime D, and then undo the slice. For a similar case, this time the block is in the back right. You could again do the 3R wide 2 to set up like that. But if you find that a bit awkward, then there is an alternative. You can set up to a 3 mover by doing F prime, D, R, D prime to solve this block, and then just insert with L wide prime, U, L wide. So that wraps it up for this video. There are obviously a lot more cases like this where the slightly longer solutions you might find to be faster than the most move optimal solutions. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of saving as many moves as you can during your cross edges because that's really important. But to be honest, the most important thing is to do whatever's fastest for you. And that's why I really, really recommend taking each case. And if there are multiple solutions that you think, oh, I'm not sure which one of these is fastest, then literally just time out your execution of those solutions over and over again. I like to do 50 executions for each because I think that's a decent enough sample size and it doesn't actually take too long, and just see which is faster. Because at the end of the day, you obviously want to do the solution that's fastest for you. So I think that's a great way to go about finding out which solutions are best. And a lot of this that I've been doing is based on the last cross-edge document that I've made, which I'll link in the description. You can see for pretty much every case that's listed there are multiple different solutions. And especially for trickier cases, then I would definitely advise checking out multiple different solutions and seeing which ones you prefer. And again, if they're pretty close in speed, then time them out and see. Because chances are, like me, you might be surprised that a slightly longer case that you hadn't initially considered might actually prove to be fastest over a couple of the shorter move count solutions. So there you go, hope this helps, and thanks for watching.